Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here to our Lunch and Learn. I'm Angela H. Brown, Executive Director for Craft Lake City, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Today, we're really excited because we are doing a Lunch and Learn with ourselves, which is pretty exciting. One of our goals with the new year is to do a better job of telling the community about who we are and what we do. You may know us because of our largest program that we do, the annual Craft Lake City DIY Festival. And a lot of people kind of get their introduction to our organization in that manner. And we are here to tell you about all of the other amazing things that we do, as we are a year-round active 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We're going to be talking today about a program that we have in downtown Salt Lake City, which is with our large metal frames that are run along 3rd South, called placottes. So we're going to go ahead and get into this presentation. I've got two other of my colleagues here joining me for the guest speakers. We've got Liz, who is our graphic designer, and then we have our artisan and programs manager, Tiana. So very excited to have you both with us today. And then behind the scenes, we've got Gabo, who is running the slides, which let's go ahead and get started, Gabo. Just a couple quick notes. If you could mute your microphone, that would be really wonderful. Of course, we will have some Q&A in the end of it. We've also got live captions, which you're welcome to turn those on. And then if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We want this to be interactive, and so we'll definitely be making sure that we're monitoring that. Gabo is also going to be throwing in a link in the chat to a survey, and we'd really appreciate it if you could please take that survey so that we can make these Lunch and Learns a little bit of a better and more interactive experience. Our mission is to educate, promote, and inspire local artisans while elevating the creative culture of Utah arts community through science, technology, and art. And of course, we're going to show you today how we do that through our programming. Of course, the DIY Festival. We've got our 17th annual DIY Festival that we're planning right now. We're also planning the 6th annual Craft Lake City Holiday Market that's happening up in Ogden in just about 2 weeks. Mark your calendars for that. We have the annual Letter West Conference, which is a partnership in Midvale that's coming up next March. Tickets for that are actually going to be going on sale on Monday, November 25th. So keep an eye out for that. They're going to sell out. They're going to go fast. So definitely score your ticket for that. And then, of course, we're going to be chatting today about the solution at hand. But also, one of the first areas that we started programming besides the DIY Festival was our year-round workshops. Please sign up for our newsletter or follow us on social, and you'll find out more information about those. We also, as part of our community programs, as I've mentioned, we're at other events, and then we do this really incredible street side exhibition called Celebration at the Hand, or Local Voices. Now, we have two different titles for the work that we show in these metal frames that we call placottes, which is actually, fun fact, the German term for billboard. And one of the reasons why we have these two different titles, these two dualities of ways of showing work, is because we've got our local voices, which is more about elevating nonprofits work. Today, we're going to be elevating our own local voice. And that's where we work with other incredible organizations in the city that generally are doing social justice work, work that has kind of an artful lens, but a way that we normally don't get to kind of like work with these organizations. So we like to partner with them to amplify their voice through the placottes. Now, again, today we're going to be amplifying our own voice. We're very excited about that. But we also amplify the voices of others, of course, to fulfill our mission statement. And we do that by working with artisans to hire them to create individual works that also is shown. In this picture here, you can see an individual piece that we actually hired one of our artists, Lyra, to create this beautiful street side exhibition of her work that was all photographs. But what we've got upgoing right now is the beautiful work of Liz Kelly, our incredible graphic designer on house. So she's going to be chatting with us a little bit about the inspiration behind how she interpreted the Craft Lake City programming and does such an incredible artful job about that. Last but not least, I just want to highlight about our Youth Artisan Entrepreneurship Program. This is an incredible program that we work with public schools to supplement their lack of art education, but we just received funding to actually bring this program to the public starting next spring at the Downtown Public Library. So again, follow our social media accounts sign up for our newsletter if you want more information about how your youngster or your friend of a youngster 18 or under can be part of our Youth Artisan Entrepreneur Program, learn how to become entrepreneurs, and of course, sell their work at the annual DIY Festival. But let's get down to business. Let's talk about today and meet some of our incredible speakers. So, Tiana Young, will you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Angela. So, my name is Tiana Young. I'm the Artisan and Programs Manager with Craft Lake City. So I play a really big role in a lot of the programs that we're going to talk about, which is in honor of mine in doing all of this amazing work for the community. I've been on the team for about a year and a half, and I'm originally from Texas, so my nickname is also Texas T, just as a little personal bit about myself. But so very honored to be here. This is one of my personal passions is the work that we do. So it's really cool that I got to find that here.
Thank you so much, Tiana. And we're so grateful to have you on the team and especially here to talk about your role with programs. Liz Kelly.
Hi, my name is Liz. I'm the graphic designer on the Craft Lake City team. And I get to work with all of the brilliant other people on the team here, and they come up with some awesome concepts for events and programming, and then I get to help produce graphics that represent them well and can hopefully get more eyes and get more participants on those projects. And today, even talking about the plaquettes, I play a small role in the plaquettes going up by just getting the little didactics on there and some info, so people can learn more about the other artists that do the work that goes in the plaquettes. And yeah, I love getting to participate in kind of all the programming that we have here in just a small way. So.
Well, and Liz, I love how you just casually mentioned that usually, you just kind of have this small role with the plaquettes, but today you have a huge role. I mean, you designed almost all of the plaquettes actually all of the plaquettes that we're going to be chatting about, and you literally did it in just a few hours. So I'm so excited to kind of share your talent with the world today and also, share the talent of our team. We have so much fun here at Craft Lake City. I mean, just right before we started this, Tiana and I were rochambeauing about who's going to go first on this presentation. And I just am so grateful for you both on this team. So thank you so much for sharing your artistic talents with not only myself, but the community through the work that we do. It just makes it so fun and such a joy. And I can't wait to share you both with the world today. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about this show a little bit. Tiana, you and I had a conversation, and I sort of prefaced this in the beginning of this about we've got to really do a better job about telling the world about who we are and what we do for community, because sometimes we get so sucked into the work that we forget to tell people that we do so much. And we have really this small, lean and mean team that we actually appear so much larger than we are. People, they think, oh my goodness, Craft Lake City, you must be just this huge organization. And of course, for the DIY Festival, we scale up and hire a lot of contractors for that one event. But then we kind of, we have our year-round core team, which is just a few of us. Could you talk a little bit about kind of the creative concept behind this show for making local voices, making us the subject of our own programming?
Yeah, absolutely. So I get to talk, I have the pleasure of being able to connect with a lot of people in many different circumstances. And often the question I get is, oh, Craft Lake City is the DIY festival, right? And well, yes, that's where we started. We're so much more than that. And I think one of the things that I've, like, in managing the programs, come to understand is that really people just, there's a lot to learn, and we do a lot of really cool things, to where if we don't tell people about it, they can't benefit. So essentially the purpose of this installation, and please, Angela, feel free to chime in, but is to really harness that power of telling our story to reach the people that we aim to serve. Because if we do all of these wonderful programs, but no one knows about it, who are we helping? So, I mean, of course, we help a lot of people regardless, but I think it's really just to kind of connect with the community in a new way and spread awareness about ways that they can get involved, whether it's partnering with us, whether it is participating in one of our events, whether it's teaching a workshop, whether it's having their own local voices installation, and beyond. So that's kind of the vision behind this installation.
Thank you, Tiana. And I just want to emphasize like the collaborative nature about Craft Lake City. And thank you for mentioning all the ways that people can get involved. Of course, even just participating today by watching this is a way of participating, following us on social media, signing up for a volunteer shift, putting a yard site about our programming in your front yard. So please do, if you're interested, if you're feeling called to collaborate with us, just give us a message, a DM or an email. We'd love to chat with you. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started into seeing some of Liz's beautiful work. So this right here is a really nice depiction of essentially our mission statement. Liz, can you talk a little bit about, and I love the lighting on this too, how it just kind of shows how, these really look at different points of the day with the light kind of like shining in through the trees. Can you talk a little bit about the specific plakat?
Yeah, for sure. Well, when I was designing this, we kind of went back and forth a little bit about what should be included on this plakat specifically. So we wanted to make the mission statement kind of the focal point, and then use a lot of photos that illustrate the mission statement and what we do here. So we have a great team of photographers that come to all of our events and take these awesome photos. So we picked out some that represent that we are inspiring local artisans and elevating the creative culture of Utah through our different events and programming. And we just wanted to make a design that would show people who is Craft Lake City. And I think these photos and this description gives someone who doesn't know maybe much about Craft Lake City a good idea of who we are. So yeah.
Thanks, Liz. And, we are Utah's DIY organization. And, you mentioned that we have an incredible team of volunteer photographers, Teamsters that kind of help out with that. You also take photos at our events. Not only are you a designer, but also a silent photographer too. So thanks for your contributions there. Tiana.
Yeah, I wanted to quickly chime in because I love what Liz said about showing who we are. And if you notice, there's not one single photo of a staff member, because really Craft Lake City is this beautiful compilation of this enormous creative community that is so vibrant in Utah. And really Craft Lake City would not exist without the community, right? Especially as a nonprofit organization, we're owned by the community, right? And that really is we would not be us without everyone else too. And all the wonderful artisans and supporters and volunteers and all the other, wonderful people that allow us to do what we do.
It's true, Tiana. We do exist at the pleasure of the community, at the pleasure of the artisans that believe in, partnering with us, collaborating with us, the attendees that, pay to be part of our, to be benefits of our programming. So, of course, thank you for mentioning that. That gratitude is so important and a core value of the organization. Yes. Now, this one actually does kind of have a picture of our team. This is, of course, is some of our contractors that come on for annual events, but then this also pictures some of our year-round team. And Liz, tell us a little bit about kind of inspiration for this design.
Yeah, for sure. We also went a little bit back and forth about whether or not to include a photo of the team on this graphic, but I think it is really helpful for people to kind of see who makes up Craft Lake City. And I know we're missing one or two, I think, team members, but for the most part, this is the team. And like you said, I think people think we're a much bigger organization than we are. And so just being able to see kind of everyone in one place that makes up the team is really cool. And then also wanted to kind of highlight all the different ways that people can be involved in Craft Lake City, because I think for a long time people have thought of us as just the DIY fest, but there's all of these opportunities for people to be part of Craft Lake City, and using these little bubbles and alternating colors, I think is was a fun way to show people like these are, I mean, 7 different ways that people can get connected with Craft Lake City, and depending on what their strengths are. So yeah.
Thank you, Liz. Tiana, anything that you want to say about this plakat?
I have a question for you. How do people say somebody gets inspired by hosting, teaching, sponsoring, or attending a Craft Lake City Business Academy or a workshop or attending our events, how do they reach us to get involved with these opportunities?
Yes, thank you for asking, Tiana. It's really, I mean, we are so accessible. You can literally send us an Instagram message, Facebook message. You can email us at info@craftlakecity.com. You can also give us a phone call. We do have an old school telephone that we do answer. And I'll just shout out that phone number in case anybody wants to write it down. It's 801-906-8521. So you're welcome to call us. We even have public hours. You can even just do a pop-in, a good old-fashioned pop-in. We're here many times outside of the public hours prepping for events, but those normal public hours are essentially 8:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. So yeah, if you're in the hood, come by and say hi. We'd love to see you. Now, this is exciting. This is actually our branding for next year's DIY Festival. So there are 2 ways that we market ourselves every year for the DIY Festival. We do kind of like a call for entries campaign. And then once all of the artisans, the STEM exhibitors, the commercial foods, all of the performers, all the participants have applied, and we sort of close off the application process, then we move into our public campaign. And that will look different. And that's where we're advertising for the public to come to the event. And Liz, this was such a fun process doing this. But before we get to you talking about that design process, I want to chat with you, Tiana, because one really exciting initiative that you put forward this year was to launch DIY Festival applications, the earliest that we've ever launched them in our coming up on 17-year history. Can you chat a little bit about that and the inspiration for that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Angela. So I always look at ways to improve programming. It's just kind of, a passion of mine is, leave it better than you found it. And one opportunity that I saw for adjusting that kind of inspired adjusting this to be earlier was, well, we have a holiday market, right? And we just don't have as many spots open as we do for DIY Festival, partially because we're all under one roof. So really, that was one of the inspirations. So people who were looking to apply for holiday market, or who are sitting already like at their booth at holiday market, or maybe we are on the wait list for to potentially participate with us at holiday market. Instead, I wanted to be able to still provide that opportunity for them, so that those people who already are interested in hanging out with us and being at our events still have that opportunity to apply while it's fresh too. So that was definitely one of them. Another one was having it earlier allows people to plan for it. So a lot of the artists that I have the pleasure of working with, do a lot of events, right? Like all sorts of markets and festivals. And gosh, like nowadays, to exhibit their wares. And am I frozen? Oh no. Can you hear me? Okay, we're back. Awesome. Yeah. And so nowadays, with all of the wonderful opportunities that artisans do have to market their items and go to these cool events, I wanted to make sure that we were on that list early, so that people could get excited for it, people can plan for it, and people can also have time to ask us questions and get support too. So
Thanks, Tiana. Appreciate you sharing that. And, I think it's really great too. The longer we can give artisans time to find out about the DIY festival so they can play, the better it is for everyone, for attendees, for the lineup, for everything. So thanks again for your support in pushing us as an organization to innovate by launching applications early. And speaking of innovation, Liz, you came to me with this idea, and this was an inspiration that you had. Can you talk a little bit about this?
For sure. Yeah, so the DIY Fest is just all about all of the local creators here in Salt Lake City in the Utah, in like Salt Lake City area in Utah. And I think that creators, when they are wanting to be part of something, they want to be part of something that represents them. And I was just kind of thinking through like what is a visual representation of something really DIY, like very, uh, kind of low barrier to entry, like something that someone would find approachable. And so I kind of just sketched out a bunch of little things that represent what happens at DIY Fest. And then got to work on digitizing and separating all the elements. And I think it ended up looking very put together despite being like very, a simple design and not a ton of super uh, high level editing work going on. But I think that it represents DIY Fest really well. And then a couple of the other things that we did with this design that's different than past years is that we made our logo, Craft Lake City, bigger and DIY Fest a little bit smaller because people know Craft Lake City, like that name rings a bell for a lot of them. And we really wanted to like grab the attention of people who are thinking about applying and they're like, oh, I've heard of that business, I've heard about market. And so we even made Apply Now be bigger and more of a focal point in the design, so that people would, see this. Maybe they knit or they have a hot dog food truck, and they're seeing themselves represented. And they're like, oh, this is for me. I'll apply for this. But yeah, it was super fun to work on this.
You knocked it out of the park, Liz. I just love this design so much. I think it's really, really fun. And I don't know, maybe we'll even use it for some flash this year at the DIY Festival. Last year, we debuted tattooing at the DIY Festival in our STEM building, and that was a lot of fun. Holiday market. Now, this is the big push that we're working on right now. This isn't just I was going to say 2 months, 2 weeks. It's just in 2 weeks from now. And it's in Ogden. It's our 6th year going up there to Ogden to create this market. For years and years and years, artisans here in Salt Lake City were asking us to do a holiday market, and we just kept saying no, 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 no. And one of the reasons why I didn't want to launch a holiday market in Salt Lake City was because there are so many incredible pop-up markets that artisans have already established here. And I wanted to still give that space for them to do that without feeling like they had to apply for ours or going up in direct competition with them. Meanwhile, we could see that our northern community, our city just right up, 45-minute commute from Salt Lake, Ogden, Utah, had this incredible art scene that was really just exploding. And so we thought, okay, this is a time for us to look at launching a holiday market for those that want to be part of it. But let's do it up in Ogden to really flex that part of our mission statement about, really amplifying Utah's creative community, right? Not just Salt Lake City's creative community. Of course, it's our namesake, Craft Lake City, Salt Lake City. But we really, as part of our mission, it's a statewide initiative, right? And just years ago, we launched a big event up there, our holiday market. And this is a beautiful, beautiful design that Liz kind of, I would say, co-collaborated in some aspects because she had a really wonderful artist that market logo. And Tiana, maybe this might be a good way for you even to kind of talk about that artist and her role in another upcoming program that we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. So Haley, I guess we're looking for just like a little bit of background with Haley as well, just so I understand.
Yeah, so
perfect. Yes. Haley Francis is a really, with Type Affiliated, is a really talented local artist based in Utah, who will be joining, who so beautifully designed this logo, and actually coming up in Letter West in March, which we'll get to that plakat here in a second. But she'll be teaching people how to create one of those logos for a client. So we're gonna have an imaginary client at Letter West, and we'll be able to kind of craft the logo and kind of see her process, which is really cool to see, like having worked with her for this logo, kind of see the behind the scenes aspect of what goes through her head, what kind of tips and tricks that she has to share there in her specific field of expertise.
Thank you, Tiana. And Liz, what part of this logo were you handed, and how did you come up with the rest of the design to interpret our holiday market and make it unique and feel like its own event?
Yeah, totally. So the holiday market, the word mark, the logo was created by Haley, and we used it last year in a very different way, and it's just been so fun to try to think of new ways to use this logo and match it to the rest of the design. And one of my favorite things about doing design work here is just like the collaborative aspect of the work. So this is an example of someone else had created this logo, and I got to take it and use it, and kind of build off of it. And the hand lettering that she did on this just reminded me of like an old street sign, something a little retro, something cute. I love the star for the eye and holiday. And another thing that was inspiring for this design was just some artisans actually at our events that do paper cutout art, which is just a really fun craft that people are getting more into and a lot of artisans use in their designs. And trying to kind of cross the gap of graphic design to arts and crafts and that we might see in person at our events. Part of that was an inspiration for this, where I used like a paper texture for all the backgrounds of the different elements, and then kind of created this scene of like a street sign or a sign entering maybe like a city, which I think is a good representation of trying to draw people up to Ogden and like the creative culture there, and that feeling of like entering a new place and getting to see the creative culture in that space. So I think building off of Haley's logo for this was super fun, and I am so excited to keep doing it. But yeah, I kind of made some imperfect shapes and got to use those and rearrange them in a lot of fun ways, and use these stars to kind of represent snow or stars. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Liz. Letter West. Tiana, let's have you start off talking a little bit about this, and where did this logo come from?
Yes, absolutely. So Letter West is the nation's lead hand lettering conference. We partner with Midvale, Maine Arts and Culture District, to kind of bring together this really niche network of artisans who are all very inspired and honestly a little bit obsessed with the art that we call hand lettering. So what is hand lettering? That is calligraphy, that is graffiti, that is brush lettering. I mean, there's all sorts of different types of lettering, digital, analog, kind of everything in between, but really is that craft of building, letters in an artful way too. So, even down to like a font or a typography, right? But to answer your question about this year's logo, we again with a collaboration, which is awesome, but we worked with Kyle Latender, who was a workshop instructor and panelist at the this year's 2024 Letter West that happened in March, who came up with this logo, and it is so beautiful for this year. So I know Kyle's not here, but thank you, Kyle, for allowing us to showcase your work for this year's Letter West. So Letter West is coming up in 2025, March 14th and 15th. And like Angela mentioned earlier, tickets are going on sale November 25th, which is coming up on Monday. And we've already had a bunch of announcements regarding, our incredible lineup of presenters, workshop instructors, keynote speakers, a few returning from last year, many new ones as well. So if you do want to find more information, you can visit craftlakecity.com/letterwest, or follow us on Instagram at craftlakecity or letterwest to get, some of the more nitty gritty of the details of the really cool lineup that we have and all the awesome things that we have in store.
Thank you, Tiana. Well, and quickly, Liz, I know that you're a fan of this logo. And in fact, we kind of had a conversation about, gosh, which artisan should we reach out to do the logo this year? And I think you even pitched that we use this logo. Can you talk a little bit about why you love this logo?
For sure. Yeah, Kyle is super talented. And I think when I see this logo and the full design together, it makes me think of the dreaded phrase, make it pop, like when people say that about a design. But I think Kyle created a design that really does pops off the page. And I think that's what hand lettering is kind of all about, is creating like this dynamic visual. And so I was just really inspired by their work with this. And we got to have a little fun with the colors this year. Last year we had some greens and we used pinks as kind of secondary, and we kind of leaned a little more into the pink this year. And so these like kind of star elements have been really fun to kind of place around the graphics. And I think Letter West is unique to a lot of our other events in that it's so like global, and we are drawing people in from kind of everywhere. And so I do love creating designs for this event specifically, because I think there's a lot of hype that's built just off of who we're announcing or the people that are coming to this. And Kyle creating a logo that is also so recognizable is just kind of the cherry on top to the rest of the event. And it's been so fun getting to use it and work with it. So I love Kyle. They're the best.
And look up Kyle. You can find them through Craft Lake City's Instagram, also through our website and through our Letter West Instagram as well. They're coming back to Letter West, and they're going to be emceeing in a drag persona, so you don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be killer. Craft Lake City workshops. Liz, this kind of reminds me a little bit of our mission statement design.
Yeah. So when we were working on this group of plakats, we obviously have different visual identities for all of our events, but then a lot of our programming has just been part of the organization and doesn't have a ton of its own, you know, unique visuals. But I think the thing about workshops is the event themselves, like the programming itself. And so we wanted to go photo heavy on this one, but we kept with that same style as the mission statement with these squares with rounded corners. This kind of drop down with the description and title. So got to find some really fun photos from a bunch of our awesome workshops and kind of give someone walking by a glimpse of like, oh, that looks like so much fun. I would love to do that with my friends. They look like they're having so much fun here. So yeah, it was super fun to create this and kind of try to represent all of our workshops and the different things that we do, while keeping it in theme with our other programming.
Liz, and quickly, Tiana, can you just summarize a little bit about our workshops? People don't know, wow, Craft Lake City does workshops. Can you just tell us a little bit about those?
Yes, I would love to. So we do monthly DIY craft workshops where we really specialize in crafting this 2-hour experience where typically 2 hours where people can walk in not knowing anything about the craft, being fully beginners, and then leaving with a finished product. And that just we found really empowers people while also builds community in a creative environment too. So people connecting over a shared interest for wanting to learn a certain craft, wanting to learn from this specific artist that they've been following for years, or which kind of brings me to my next point, which is it's really cool because we actually get to train. I get the pleasure of training local artisans to teach and kind of providing that structure and framework and support to where they get some teaching experience, or they get to learn how to teach in a new environment too. So yeah, just a little bit about craft workshops. We do both public workshops, but you can also hire us to curate a private workshop if you have a conference or, just want to do a private get together with your friends or family. We do all sorts of different crafts too. So.
Thank you, Tiana. And fun fact, we started our workshop program in 2011. So after DIY Fest, this was the second program that we really expanded the organization in. And back then we were still 100% volunteer. So it's pretty amazing how far we've come in as an organization in a short amount of time. And I just want to thank you, Tiana, for doing such a great job in continuing to lead this program and take it to new levels. Community inclusion program. Liz, tell us a little bit about the design behind this and a little bit about the program. And of course, Tiana will kind of fill in any gaps.
For sure. So for the design for this one, it's similar to the Work With Us book where we want people to see the title and then kind of wonder what is included in our community inclusion programs. So we have 9 listed here, I think. Yeah, or seven. And these are just like a few of the things that we do with the community inclusion program, which is such a cool thing that Craft Lake City does. We want to make things as accessible as possible. And so we have all of these programs like the scholarship and mentor program, which is awesome that artisans and exhibitors get to work with someone who has more experience than them and can help them kind of on their journey of becoming exhibitors and artists and doing their work and getting it out there. There's ways for people who need assistance with their application to make it a little easier for them to participate in our events. We have Business Academy, which just wrapped up, which is super cool. And people get to learn, artisans get to learn how to be entrepreneurs and how to be smart with their business, because being an artist is owning a business a lot of times. And then Youth Artisan Entrepreneur Program is also so cool. We talked about that a little bit, but and it's very exciting that we get to bring that to the public. But there's a lot of really talented young people, and it's not always as easy for them to participate in events. And our program helps highlight them a little bit more, which is super awesome. And we just chose a couple of photos that kind of feature some of the things that we talk about and some of the community inclusion programs we have. So yeah.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, and one thing I do want to mention is really our community inclusion initiatives kind of span through everything that we do. It's very much of keeping that lens of providing an equal access to our resources and making it accessible. It really is, while we do have programs dedicated to that, those initiatives, it really is like a thread that kind of goes through everything that we do, which is really special. But yeah, so I guess to speak to our community inclusion programs, we have a couple that are currently coming out for Holiday Market, including our scholarship and mentor program, where we have we pair emerging artisans who have yet to exhibit with us with a seasoned DIY Fest or Holiday Market alum who essentially provides them, very thorough training on business. Like business development training and how to be successful at a market and things to consider, like display and money stuff, and all sorts of really wonderful advice. And then they actually get to have one-on-one time with this experienced mentor and ask any questions that they have. Really utilizing them as a resource to help bridge the gap and learn how to market in a successful way and feel prepared. And of course, like the culminating event is the Holiday Market or the DIY Festival. So we do it for both events where they get waived booth fees. So they don't have to worry about having to pay that fee, and they can really just focus on their education and, learning, the tricks of the trade, so to speak. And then of course, we'll have, we always end with getting some feedback directly from the participants to learn how to make it better for next time too. So that's one of the main ones that we're doing right now. Of course, we have our sponsored entrepreneur program where we partner a emerging artisan who may not quite be ready to market yet with an experienced DIY Fest or Holiday Market alum, where they can go and shadow them actually, and then have like a meeting with them where they can ask questions and learn kind of it really is kind of like peeking behind the curtain of learning what it takes before making a commitment to do a market. And then of course we have our Youth Artisan Entrepreneur program, which is where we provide free enriching after school arts education in partnership with now the library, which is so exciting for 2025, where we get to offer it to the public. And then we also partner with local after school programs it's two parts really. Like we'll have a couple of artist visits where we bring entrepreneurs to come inspire the kids and teach them entrepreneurship topics and goals. And then at the end, they get to start creating some inventory for the culminating event, which is exhibiting at Kid Row at the 17th annual Craft Lake City DIY Festival presented by Harvard's. And that is a youth pop-up market on Saturday only of the festival, dedicated really to youth 18 and under, to have a 4-hour stint of, starting to get into markets, learning how to, make sales and talk about their business pitch. And it's really, really cool to see that all kind of come together. And then of course we have application assistance, in the form of fee waivers, but for those who it might be a barrier to entry, where we can waive that, which is really wonderful that we can provide that service. It is limited, but just something to note. And then for application assistance days, this is one of the cooler things that we do too. I mean, it's all cool, but we actually provide free photography services for the public. So any artist, you don't have to be necessarily applying to our event. Any artisan can come and receive 5 free product photos with no strings attached. So, by registering for that event, you can also then, have stuff that you can use to promote or use to apply to other markets or, use for your website, all sorts of things. And then we do virtual assistance as well, where we really walk people through the application, some of the rules of our events too, for maybe people who are a little bit newer or just curious, or even people who are like, ooh, what's new with Craft Lake City? Let's see what application updates or new things they have for their event. And then of course we have our sponsored families program, which, Angela may be able to speak a little bit more to this too, but since she did create this program, but really it's to provide a full festival or market experience to some underserved community members too, who may not be able to have a full experience without our support. So what we do is we provide food vouchers, we provide craft vouchers, and we provide free tickets to these families in partnership with community organizations. We are doing that for Holiday Market. So thank you to Utah Foster Care for all your help in recruiting some families as well as some other organizations. And then, of course, we have our Business Academy, which is we did wrap up our Take Your Business to the Next Level course with Celtic Bank last week, where we were lucky enough to be able to partner with this really wonderful bank to provide coaching for emerging artisans or artisans who already have an established business, to help elevate them in an educational aspect, and that included getting comfortable talking about funding, learning where to get learning what loans work best for them, learning what goes into a loan, kind of like that financial industry knowledge that is kind of hard to come by unless you live through it. So we're trying to kind of provide that in a learning environment.
Thank you, Tiana and Liz. You both did such a great job of explaining this program, because it's very nuanced, and it's, there's all these other programs nested underneath community inclusion. So thank you so much. I just want to mention that if there's anybody watching that is feeling called about these programs, called to be involved as a volunteer or to financially donate, this is a program that we traditionally always need funding for. And we always want to expand it as well. So even if it's just a $10 donation towards this program, that will help us. So let's go ahead and move on to the next. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, this is a program, of course, that we brought into the DIY Festival over 10 years ago. And it's where we actually added in a STEM building. And of course, the idea is that, creativity is really the common denominator in anything of value. And of course, everything is valuable, right? And with science and technology, a lot of times I think that artisans are just really kind of not connecting to that world, and vice versa. Scientists aren't really connecting to artisans. Of course, there's been the STEAM initiative, and this is our answer to the STEAM initiative, is that we are all connected through the power of creativity. And so we like to take the science enthusiasts and put them in their own building where they can focus on science and technology and innovation and crafting with those tools and showing kind of the benefits, showing the results, showing the projects that come from that, as well as right alongside them, the artisans. So that is what our STEM programming is all about. Liz, let's just quickly talk about this logo. You created this beautiful STEM logo.
Yeah, so the STEM logo, we wanted to create some branding that we could use for STEM, just to kind of give it a little bit more of its own platform. Like it's in our mission statement that STEM is part of who Craft Lake City is, and promoting this community of people who, like you said, don't always connect to the creative community, and we want to make it a way for them to do that. And so we had a visual of an atom, and then we put the Craft Lake City logo in the center, just to kind of highlight that like this is who Craft Lake City is too. You know, like it's a little less known right away, but I think that we put a lot of our time and energy into our STEM programming, and it's really cool to have it be featured in a way that kind of gives its own platform. And then we just have a couple bubbles with some circles in the background too that are all just kind of reminiscent of like some cells floating around, which I think is kind of fun. And just highlighting three of like the really big things we do, which is the indie game arcade at our DIY fest and holiday market, which is super cool. And we have a photo of someone playing a game at the indie game arcade, where developers get to bring their games, which is such a creative thing, and then people get to participate in them, which is just so awesome to be able to get those two groups of people connected. And then we also have the water rocket launches that happen at public schools and other events. And it's just a really cool way to get kids involved in STEM, and kind of show them some real life examples of what STEM can be. And so we do these rocket launches. And then, yeah, like you said, the STEM building, which is so cool. And just is full of these creative, innovative people, and walking around in that energy is just really sick. So yeah.
Shout out to G Fiber, who generously supports our STEM program. We could not do any of this without G Fiber. That being said, always looking for more STEM programming funding as well to expand these programs, because we have some more ideas on our 5-year plan list that we just need a little bit more money in order to activate those programs. Tiana, briefly, and then we'll go on to our next plakat. Do you want to say anything about STEM?
I'm very excited for the Indie Game Arcade coming up at the 6th Annual Craft Lake City Holiday Market up at the Ogden Union Station, December 6th and 7th. There will be, once you enter the Indie Game Arcade, it's free for anyone to go and play games and learn about the game directly from the people who developed it. And we'll have both video games and board games and kind of everything in between. So it really is a lot of fun for both kids, but also I personally love it. I had a great time last year, so would encourage y'all, if you're interested at all, to come and check it out.
Yeah, and I think it's so fun about our event is, of course, it's Christmas time. We want to give people an opportunity to support artisans for gift giving, and of course keep the dollars in the economy. But if you've already done your gift shopping and you're there with a buddy, go into the Indie Game Arcade and have a really fun, creative experience. Or even if you're not into shopping but you're still there with a friend or family, it provides more than just shopping, right? Which I think is something that our constituents are really used to at the DIY festival. And so we wanted to kind of bring that inspiration to holiday market. And this is our 2nd year doing the Indie Game Arcade. And this year is going to be so good. And Tiana, I know this one has a special part in your heart. We've talked about it a little bit, but let's just briefly expand on this one more time.
Gosh, yes. Our Youth Artisan Entrepreneur Program is really, really cool in a lot of ways. Not only do we get the opportunity to empower youth, but we get to serve them in a really unique way. So kind kind of like I had mentioned, in the spring, in like the spring and early summer months, we partner with local after school programs to curate really like this type of education surrounding entrepreneurship and creativity. I think for me, at least, growing up, like I heard a lot of, being an artist isn't really a job. And like the more I learn about it, the more I know how false that really is, especially if somebody is called or inspired to go that route, right? So I really think this is a really powerful program in bridging that too, to where it is empowering and inspiring to those kids of, oh, I can do this. Oh, I am doing this. Oh, so we do, artist visits in the spring. They get to do a little craft a lot of the times. They get to learn how to build inventory and branding and build their own mission statement and kind of like why they do what they do. So over months, starting in the spring leading up to the DIY Fest, they're preparing for this big event, which is Kid Row, that pop-up market on Saturday of the DIY Fest, where they get to practically have that experience and sell their wares and get inspired and meet other local creatives that are in their age group, that are also doing the same thing, and kind of start to build that community really early too. So yeah, this is of course like this program we offer free after school arts education to youth while setting them up to exhibit at Kid Row.
Thank you, Tiana. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to move on to our next slide just for the sake of time, because I know we want to wrap up really soon. But let's hear about this one from you, Liz. Local Voices. This is the slide that essentially visually describes the program that we're talking about, that we're highlighting our own organization as part of.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a little bit of like Inception, because it's like a plakat photo of a plakat on a plakat. But yeah, this was fun and kind of like a little challenging to like represent what Local Voices is in like a visual way, without people being overwhelmed by text and stuff. So we get to see someone, our lovely Sarah, looking at a plakat that we did, and then a couple other photos of other like local mission-driven organizations that we got to work with. And I think it's just really cool to see this on a plakat and see other people, like what they're seeing, and what other organizations, they can look at this and be like, oh, I can put my work here. And it just, we kind of made Local Voices to be the focal point, the title of our program, and then kept it within all of our other branding. But yeah, this one we kept it simple. We had like the bookmark pattern, but other than that, like I think it speaks for itself a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz. And again, we're highlighting ourselves as part of this program, but Tiana, if there's an organization that wants to get involved that's kind of just learning about this program for the first time, can you just expand just slightly on this program and how they can get involved?
Yes, we would. We're always looking for organizations to partner with for this really impactful program. Of course, this is free to the public, and displayed street side. So anyone can walk by and get inspired and get involved, which is really cool and unique, I think. So how people can get involved, they can email me directly. I'm at artisancoordinator@craftlakecity.com, and I'd be happy to hop on a quick call and give you more of the nitty gritty details about the back end of putting this on. But we love working with new organizations. We love being able to highlight them via e-blasts, Instagram, through of course these frames, but and even having a permanent page on our website, in spreading the message that they feel called to spread.
And shout out to the Center of the Living City and to Museum of Permanent Change, the two organizations behind those, Stephen Goldsmith. The plug, we are working on this partner. A number of ago, Stephen and I got together, and I asked if we were able to collaborate programming in these metal frames, and he said yes. And here we are, a number of years later, still able to do this work because of his vision of of creating these and installing these on the city streets a number of years ago. So thank you again, Stephen, for creating this so we could then steward the work in here and keep the work living on in these metal frames for the people. Like you mentioned, Tiana, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the public should have access to arts or to the incredible organizations that our community is running through an artful lens. And that is what the Local Voices program does. Now, the money, we do charge for organizations to be part of the Local Voices, outdoor installation program, but that money funds the Artisan exhibition program, where we hire artisans to create unique works on a single theme that we then hang in here. So that is where that budget, again, ties back to community and support local artisans directly. All right, Tiana, can you explain this? What is this?
That's a great question. So this is a map of the frames on the streets of downtown. So the frames are located between Main Street and 200 West. I think it's 200 West and 200 East. I always get the numbers mixed up, but on 300 South or Broadway. So this is a map of where our specific Local Voices installation is located. So it'll be the 10 frames by the Rose Wagner Performing Arts Center, half on one side of the street and half on the other, to form the installation. And it will be up until December of 2024.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tiana. And thank you so much, Liz. Thank you for being here today. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. And again, remind the public when you're downtown to please check out these images. Now, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask today? Of course, there doesn't have to be any questions, but if you do, put them in the chat. We've also got Gabo on standby to collect any questions. We'll go ahead and just wait a couple minutes and see. Meanwhile, again, I just want to emphasize how important it is to take a walk in downtown Salt Lake City. That's another thing that I just love about this programming is when we're actually a pedestrian and seeing the city through the lens of a pedestrian versus even on a bike or in a car, we really have time to notice new things about our city. And it can inspire us in a new way. It can jog our thoughts, our creativity, memories. And so give yourself some time to have that experience. And while you're at it, why not book yourself a time to have that experience while looking at these beautiful placards that Liz has designed as part of our Local Voices exhibition. Of course, the holidays are coming up. There's a lot of beautiful lighting happening in downtown Salt Lake City. Stroll down Broadway and see it there. All right. I don't see that we have any questions at this time. However, if you do think of a question that you'd like to ask us, DM us, email us, and we change the Center for the Living City. Of course, the ZAPs. Thank you to everyone that voted to renew the ZAP program. That actually helps our organization quite a bit. The George S. and Dolores Story Eccles Foundation, Utah Division of Arts and Museums. If you would like to see your logo added to this, again, we are always looking for new funders and new supporters, new foundations. Feel free to reach out to us, of course, at info@craftlakecity.com. And there's the information again right here. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this Lunch and Learn today. And we will look forward to seeing you at our two big upcoming events, which are the Holiday Market coming up in 2 weeks, the first weekend of December at the Union Station up in Ogden. And then, of course, we've got Letter West coming up on the 14th and 15th of March with Midvale, Maine. Of course, there's some workshops in between. So there is plenty of Craft Lake City programming to go around, and we hope to see you then. And last but not least, DIY Festival applications are open now. Let's have you part of the DIY Festival. Let's get you there. Let's answer your questions. It's going to be really fun. Second weekend of August at the Utah State Fair Park. It's going to be our biggest and best yet. So many fun programming surprises for you there. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.